Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hey.
I was checking the audio.
Oh, we'll try it again?
No, it's fine. You can keep going. It's just
Okay.
at the top of my head. I'm proud of the top of my head. I'm old and I
You have
hair.
a lot of hair.
I do.
You
It's
do.
true.
You do.
That's on my head.
Congratulations.
On my back, too.
God.
So lucky you.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Are we ever going to start this professionally? No.
Is it always going to be us?
Yeah.
Then no.
Nope.
We're professionals in the real estate market, but not
Yes.
so much in the television business.
Oh my goodness, you're fine.
Hey, so we're driving around a neighborhood today because Amy has a listing that's active, and there's like 42 bazillion showings.
So we need to stick close to that listing today.
And we're going to go drive past it. We'll
Sure.
show everyone the listing. But we're going to use this opportunity to talk to you about, a few weeks ago we talked about how to buy a house. Today we're going to talk a little bit about how to list a house. And so a couple ways to do it, a couple theories about it. So I'm going to tee it up for you, and you tell me, in your expert opinion, the pros and cons of each method. Okay? Does that make sense?
Sure.
So let's start with the for sale by owner. Okay, so you can list your house for sale by owner. You can.
Right.
Now tell me about give me the pros and cons of for sale by owner.
Well, I mean, it can be done. Most people typically think that if they do that they're getting a great deal, or they're able to not have realtors, as a part of the process. Mm-hmm. That's true, except that, let's just say, for instance, hypothetical situation. So let's say you sell your home, and you're doing that without a realtor, so you don't have realtor commissions involved.
Right.
And then, or maybe you're trying to buy a home. Maybe let's do it the other way. Maybe you're buying a home without a realtor involved, and you're trying to get a really good deal on it, but your intention is to turn around and sell that.
Yeah.
Well, if you're buying it for a really low price because you think you're getting a really good deal, you've now become your own best comp.
Yeah.
So you kind of shoot yourself in the foot that way. So if you're like, look at me, and now if you're planning on living in it, okay, that's fine.
Okay, tell me real quick though, what best comp? What do you mean? If people might not know what that means.
Right. So when you go to sell your home, we talk about the comps and we talk about the appraisals.
Short word
right?
for comparable.
Comparables, right. So the appraisal, gosh, I don't know how many times we mentioned this in the videos. You cannot, I don't care how crazy the market is, an appraisal still matters.
Right.
Unless you were a cash buyer and you're like, I don't need an appraisal.
Right.
Okay, but you probably got all that cash because you weren't stupid, so you probably want to make sure you're at least in the realm of what it's worth.
So don't dig in real hard on that, because I want to come back to that, because when we talk about pricing strategies with a realtor, there's two that are tighter on the appraisal. But the challenge for an appraisal, if you have a for sale by owner.
Cute, they're setting up a little.
Yeah, it's nice little, like it's a wedding reception or something. It's all on like little tea party thing.
Yeah,
Nice.
cute.
Anyway.
Yes.
So if you're doing it for sale by owner, if you don't have any expertise in real estate, it's hard for you to know where your house is going to appraise.
Right.
But what I was going to throw out as a pro and a con, in my opinion, if it's for sale by owner because you're trying to, and by the way, so we're realtors, so you might say, well, you're realtors, you think people should use realtors. If you can sell your house yourself, God bless, go for it. But what we see happen is there's very rarely a transaction that I've seen that's a for sale by owner where both sides are happy. Either you got a higher price for your house and the seller has overpaid, or the seller comes in, because by the way, saying, well, I can do it without a realtor because then I can get a higher price and don't have to pay fees. What's the person making the offer? What's the first thing they're going to say? Well, you don't have any realtor fees, so I'll offer you $20,000 less than it's worth.
Exactly.
So they're going to undercut you by more than you would have paid.
Right, and now you don't have any person with knowledge to guide you. I had a client actually purchase a home once through a for sale by owner, but I was representing the buyer. And so I still received a commission, but he had paid for one of those limited, you just pay someone, a couple $100 or whatever, and they'll put it on the MLS. Well, the gentleman had no idea of anything. He didn't have any forms, any documents. He didn't, it was, it's just not a good idea. But at any rate, yes.
Real world example from right nearby where we are.
Yes.
Very recently, in a neighborhood a lot like this one, there was somebody that was renting a house, and the person that owned the house said, well, I'm going to sell it, so you got to get out. I'm ending your lease. And then, so that person said, hey, well, I would like to buy it, but they were trying. So the seller was doing it as a for sale by owner, and ultimately ended up getting $100,000 more than that house was worth. Now you might say, well, if I'm selling my house by owner, that's great. Well, that could be. That is not normal, but also the person who made the mistake in that case for not calling a realtor is the buyer. If the buyer had called us or anyone, they would have been told, well, the comparables on this house are $100,000 under that, so it's not going to appraise. So we'll talk about what that means if it doesn't appraise. And just go real slow here and go past because there's your listing. There it is.
It's right there.
So there it is. And so as you're watching this, there's in fact on the other side of the car, there's a realtor showing up to show the house.
Yeah.
And it's been like that all day long.
It's all day long.
But back to my point is, in that case, the buyer is unhappy because now the buyer has suddenly realized
he overpaid
by $100,000. Now, there's some desperation in this market. Maybe they're still happy, right?
Yeah.
Okay. On the other side, in the same neighborhood, there was someone who wanted to get a really good deal, and so they're like, well, I'm going to sell it by owner, and they ended up underselling their property by $100,000.
Yep.
And so we're looking at a $200,000 swing
because you just didn't reach out to a professional, which
And then the funny thing is they were online celebrating that they saved $15,000 in realtor commissions. They saved $15,000 in realtor commissions, but they lost $100,000, and it never connected for them that a realtor would have gotten them a higher price.
Right.
Okay, so for sale by owner, do it if you can do it. The pros and cons are make sure that you know what you're doing, and not in the way that very often some of us think we know what we're doing, so we just assume we do.
Well, and for a purchase that's that important, for a purchase that is that life-changing, financially, you're investing your probably life savings, or you're housing your family, you're sheltering them. Is it not worth the small percentage that a realtor gets to have them guide you through the process?
Right.
That to me is a no-brainer.
And I don't want to make it a big commercial for don't sell your house, because if you want to, that's fine. But if I were selling you a barbecue grill, and I said, hey, for 3% of what you get for this barbecue grill, I've got a buyer for this grill at a very good price, you would go, oh, 3%, no big deal. It's when the numbers are bigger that you go, it's a big deal. Exactly. And really, it's a matter of then you've got someone in the middle, the terms of transaction broker, to make sure that everything's taken care of. That's the whole way it works. But again, sell your house by owner. If you could do that, great. Let me give you one more warning of
ever go to Waterloo.
That's fine. One more warning of selling your house by owner. There are brokerages, not our brokerage, not us. Their entire business plan.
They will feed off.
If you are for sale by owner, they call you a FSBO. They will be calling you morning, noon, and night, saying, "Hey, I see you had your house in the market for a while. What if I bring you a buyer?" So just know that that's something that's coming. Now you can put your house on the do not call list, but as soon as you list your house for sale by owner, then you've advertised that phone number. So you've said, please call me about that house. So they can call you, and they will. So other ways to get a house. I'm gonna go the two non-standard, which is for sale by owner, and then having your realtor. I would suggest having a realtor do it. But if you like a house in a certain street, certain neighborhood, you can kind of ask people, would you sell me your house? Now, in that case, are you going to pay less or more?
Well, you're going to pay more.
You're going to pay a lot more, because you're going to have to, if someone's just living their life,
and you're knocking on the door saying, excuse me, can I buy your home?
Yeah, would you sell it for market value? Of course you would not. You're going to, but if it's the house you want, and it's doable.
That's not as common practice, generally speaking, but in this market, sometimes it happens.
So we're on Marina. Are we on Marina Bay? We're on Marina Bay. Yeah, we're on Marina Bay. So if you wanted to live on Marina Bay, this street is beautiful.
It's one of my favorites.
So this is Waterloo Phase 1, so you see the more mature trees and just really beautiful. Really beautiful. Anyway, so if you wanted to live here, we could go knock on a door for you and just expect to pay more. So now let's go with the two standard things. If you are listing your home, and I want you to talk to me about the two strategies that you see out there, and which one is your strategy for listing a home.
Okay.
So strategy 1, figure out what the appraisal is going to be and list it at least with that price in mind, that appraisal in mind. Tell me why that matters. That's why I want to get you back to appraisal.
Well, so the two different, excuse me, two different trains of thought with that, and to each realtor and to each seller, they may have their own thought process. Right. My due diligence is to my seller, and so they're trusting me to guide them. And so, excuse me.
Do you want a sip of my diet?
I'm okay.
Maybe you're okay. Maybe.
All right.
It's this time of year.
It is allergies for sure. So if I'm going to list a home, I'm going to do my due diligence, because what I don't want to have happen is to have a contract fall apart because of appraisal.
Right.
Not everyone can waive appraisals. Not everyone is in a position to pay above appraisal. So my job is to make sure I at least price it where I feel like the appraisal will come in. We can let the crazy market drive up the price for sure,
right,
because there are many people out there that are cash buyers that will waive the appraisal, or people that do have cash funds available to bridge an appraisal gap. So that does exist. But my job is I like to price it where I know the comps, the comparables that are sold comps within the community or surrounding area are going to support that price. And then if a client comes in and is like, look, I'm going to pay $30,000 over the appraisal, here's my funds to show you that I can do that.
Yep.
I'm totally cool with that. Then great. Then I'm happy to sell the home for as much as we possibly can. But I did my due diligence and made sure that
right,
it was priced fairly and accurately, because I will tell you, sometimes the appraisers are like, when you price it cuckoo crazy,
yeah,
they're going to say you're cuckoo
crazy. They get offended, yeah.
And then they're going to do the appraisal, within the guidelines of their ethical duty. But at the same time, you've already set an expectation for them of you're wanting too much for
There
this
is so much to talk about here. I can picture all the graphics that be flying across the screen with terms, but I want to go back with you for a couple, because people, we know this because when they call, they don't know what we're talking about. So when you say an appraisal gap, if I have to pay an appraisal gap,
right,
what does that mean?
Okay, so let's say that a home is listed for $600,000.
Okay.
Let's say we think it's going to appraise right at or just slightly under $600,000.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Because that's where we've listed it. But we know that it's going to sell for more than that, and the seller is looking for more than that. Let's just say
$650. Say $650. Let's use round numbers, just because it may not be that. But
okay, so $650. So that's $50,000 over asking price.
Right.
If the appraisal comes in, if your offer says that we are offering $650 and we have cash to bridge any appraisal gap, so that means that if they're financing, but they
right,
still have cash set aside.
Yep.
And the appraisal comes back, instead of $650, it comes in at $620, then that means they need to show proof of funds of $30,000 to bridge that appraisal gap, and they'll bring that with them.
Say that again, though, because you said, so $620, it appraises, it appraises at $620, I got you.
Yes, okay. If it appraises at $620, you offered $650,
right,
the bank is not going to loan you more than what they say the home is worth.
Can I alter your metaphor just by one so I can do the math in my head? Let's say it appraised at $600. And you offered $650, just because the math in my head would, just because I can do that. If you purchase, if you are financing $600, you're pre-approved for $600,000, right? That means and you're financing 80%. That means $480,000 is what they're loaning you, and you're bringing the other $120,000 to the table, right? For a $600,000 thing. This is why I needed the math to be round. If the house appraised at $600, the bank is still only going to loan you $480. But if you agreed to pay $650, you've got to have the $120,000 that you agreed to bring in the beginning, plus another $50,000, right? Okay. So when we say an appraisal gap, that $50,000 in this case would be the appraisal gap, and basically you're going to want to, if your listing agent is smart, they're going to want to see proof of funds that you've got that money to cover the gap. But many realtors don't know what to expect the home to appraise for, so it's this big surprise, right? So either it's a big surprise because nobody on either side even thought about it, which is a mistake, or they didn't get a proof of funds and didn't talk about the idea that, hey, it might not appraise at this price. And so then the house doesn't appraise, and now what happens? Now you say, well, we were willing to pay $650, but it only appraised at $600, so now we can only give you $600. Now the seller has to go yes or no,
right,
and put it back on the market. And so it becomes a whole thing. Now, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. That's why homes come back on the market. And I've heard you advise many clients when they were had the second best offer and it didn't get accepted. I've heard you say to people, "What? Wait and see," right? Because what's going to happen if they offered too much and they don't have an appraisal gap? It's coming back, right?
There's another way, just on that same vein there, is that you can submit an offer. So sometimes I put it back on the listing agent, and I'm like, okay, you know what? My clients are willing to pay $25,000 over the appraisal, up to the agreed upon purchase price. Or, so basically what that means is, so now we're not saying, so now let's go back to that same scenario, okay? 600.
Yep.
Appraises for 600. We offered 650. But instead of saying that we'll bridge the gap, we say in our offer, we're willing to pay $25,000 over the appraised value up to the agreed upon purchase price.
Yes.
So now it appraises at 600. Now they only have to pay 625.
Right.
Okay.
Because everybody agreed in advance, so we know.
And by the way, we put that, excuse me, well, I guess that's not the perfect example, but this is probably more in line for the people who overpriced it.
Yes.
Right? So let's say it was...
True.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
which we'll talk about next.
Okay.
So let's talk about it now.
Okay.
So I think we covered that, and we've sort of touched on this before, but the market has... We wanted to touch on it again because the market has gone... Hickory Nut Lake, come on. That's Lake Hickory Nut, right? Am I right? How beautiful that is.
Beautiful.
Yowza. Okay, anyway. It's a Hickory Nut Lake or Lake Hickory Nut? I think it's Lake Hickory Nut.
I'm going to say Hickory Nut Lake.
I don't know. I'll put it on the screen what the correct answer is. Anyway, so the market has gone so crazy that we talked today about what should we talk about, and specifically because we have this listing, and Amy priced that where we think it's going to appraise, right?
Yeah.
So, however, we expect that it will sell for over appraisal.
Correct.
So any offers that we get, we're going to ask, can you cover an appraisal gap? If it appraises at the list price, or even a little lower, can you cover the gap? So the sellers are going to consider that offer. Now, the other way, and part of the reason this came up is because in the same neighborhood, there is a house that will appraise at about $750, in my opinion. I'm not an appraiser, but I'm pretty good at this. In my opinion, it's going to appraise about $750. And Amy, what did they list that house for?
Well, over $1 million.
Over $1 million. Almost 1.1.
Almost 1.1. And I have the next home in that community that actually
is going to sell for $1 million.
It's going to sell for over $1 million.
Which is 1,000 more square feet.
1,000 more square feet, much wider home site, much better lot. It's like and by the way, they haven't even closed yet. They're getting ready to close.
So that comparable doesn't exist.
Yes, that comp doesn't even exist.
Goes.
And I will tell you that my home that I'm selling for $1 million appraised at $9 million.
Right. Yeah, and we knew that. And my clients knew that, but they wanted the home because we had prepared them for an appraisal gap.
Right.
We said this house is not going to appraise at the price, but that was the price it took to get it.
Right.
So that's where we went.
That's exactly right.
So tell me how that's going to go. Give me the scenarios of how that could go with that house. So let's say somebody agreed to buy that. They would have to have a $250,000 gap, right? Let's see who's calling. It's a realtor.
I would...
I'll have to call him back.
Oh, I know that.
Okay. Do you need to answer it?
No.
We can do a...
No.
Flashy.
No, we're
okay.
Good. Yeah, I don't know where we're going with that. What's
going to happen with that house?
Well, first of all, I would really hope that somebody buying that home is going to do their due diligence and pay attention and not just jump on it because inventory is so scarce. I don't think anybody would.
Right. Well, if you have $1 million right now, we can find you a house in a minute.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and a really good house. And a house that's worth $1 million, not a house that's worth $750 that you're going to pay $1 million for. So I think sometimes realtors misread the market, and maybe I'll be proven wrong. Maybe that house will sell this weekend for more than $1 million, and it will close. And so, and if that happens, I'll tell you. We talked about that once in another community where somebody listed their house at $1 million. It was the same sort of scenario, and I can tell you that house did not sell for $1 million, and nowhere near it.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you if it does, because we're always, we want to serve our clients very well, and so it's important that we know this stuff. Oh, it's a tea party. Oh my goodness, that is so sweet. Okay, cool. I like people. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so that house, again, so that's the other strategy. The other strategy is price it out of this world and hope someone's dumb. I mean, that's why we don't strategize things that way, because people that have $1 million generally didn't get that way because they throw their money away.
Exactly. They weren't savvy with their money.
So those are kind of the 4 ways. We got your FSBO, we got your knock on someone's door and make them an offer. We've got list it with the appraisal in mind, and then try to, as a realtor, you want your seller to get the most possible for the house, but let the market push it to that number.
Right.
There's lots of other ways that we can use to build urgency and to make people understand that, hey, you got to do it now to help the price. But none of them are option 4, which is just pull a price out of your butt and then say, would you pay my butt price?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think if you take nothing away,
I'm going to call it that from now on.
If you take this away, anything from this particular conversation is that whether you are buying or whether you are selling, you have to at least have some type of a mindset involving the appraisal.
Right.
Either you are going to trust in it and go by the appraised amount.
Yep.
You are going to waive the appraisal contingency. You are going to pay slightly above the appraisal, and you're going to dictate that amount to begin with. You're going to price according to the appraisal, or you're going to price with no relevance to the appraisal. So just be a smart consumer, a smart person out there, no matter which side of that transaction you are on. Think about that part of it, because even in a crazy market where it's a seller's market and people are paying over, you still have to know what you plan on doing.
Yes, and I'm going to put on the screen a little thing, a little QR code. This is the first time we've ever done this. I'm going to try it out. So only if you live in Central Florida, and only if you're actually interested in the value of your home, I'll put a little QR code there. That'll send me an email that says, well, you'll send me your address and your name if you're interested.
If they're interested in selling, though, right?
Yeah, if you're interested in selling.
So.
It's also, we do that for our buyers, but that's not something we're asking you to do today. So if you have a home that you're interested in knowing the value of, reach out to me. I'm going to reach back out to you just to confirm, hey, you're actually interested in selling, because it does. I mean, we put a lot of work into those things. But I'll put that QR code on the screen. I don't know. I think it'll work. People could just hold up the screen. We'll see. But anyway, that was great. You did a great job. And I got to talk about my butt again.
Thanks.
So I feel great. My butt's feeling better, by the way. America wants to know.
Okay.
It's a little better. I'm stretching every day. Okay, should I stop talking now?
Probably about your butt.
Probably best. About everything. Let's just stop talking about everything. I'm done.
All right. Hey, but you know what? It is a beautiful Florida day.
It's a top 10 day.
It's a top 10 day.
But it's 73 degrees and perfectly sunny.
Absolutely freaking gorgeous. All right, my friends. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay well. Remember, we love you. Happy house hunting.